So we're joined today, I'm pleased to say, by one of the, if you'll forgive the expression, stalwarts of guerrilla cricket, who's been around for a long time, a truly expert ball-by-ball caller, if I may say so myself, and someone that has experienced a lot of what's gone on through the guerrilla and Test match surfer era, I think. So welcome, not Fred Titmus.
Thank you for having me.
If we could start off, Fred, just learning a bit about yourself, about how you grew up in connection with sport in particular and cricket, and how that impacted on your life.
Well, I started enjoying cricket from a pretty early age. There wasn't much cricket played in school. I mean, the school I went to, the high school, had a Greek Cypriot sports master. He was more interested in such unnatural vices as volleyball and basketball and things like that. So we didn't have any cricket training, but I mean, we played all the time in the playground. And then getting a bit older, playing, guesting for adult teams, and finally getting to play on a regular basis, on a weekly basis during the summer.
What drew you to it?
It's hard to say. I mean, when I was musing on this the other day, when kids tend to watch, well, they certainly did when in the 70s and 80s, tend to watch whatever's on the television. And cricket was on the television. But I watched a whole bunch of sports that I wouldn't even, I wouldn't cross the road to watch now, just because they were on the telly. I don't watch snooker, and we've spent many hundreds of hours watching snooker because it was on the television. In the Olympics, we used to watch dressage and curling and all this kind of crap. But cricket stuck with me. I still enjoy it, and it's a pretty good thing to be doing.
Were you any good at it?
No, I was never. I mean, I played all the way through my adult life. Still play a little bit today. Probably play about half a dozen games a season. When the club's short, or whether we're playing a particularly weak opposition. And I enjoy it, but I'm quite happy to actually nowadays not do anything on the field at all other than stand at slip and abuse my fellow teammates. Not the opposition, just my wicketkeeper and teammates.
Well, it's part of the genre, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was apart from abuse, what was your forte when you're at your peak?
I was a leg spin bowler until I broke the spinning finger of my right hand. And I never had any difficulty whatsoever turning the ball. I could turn it a long way. It was pitching it in the right place was more of a problem, or sometimes pitching it at all.
I can relate.
But if I could pitch it on leg stump, I was a very difficult bowler to play, because I did get prodigious turn. We didn't always play on the best wicket, so that was a little bit helpful. But no, I enjoyed it. I used to bat as well. I stood in as wicketkeeper. I did all sorts of things. When you're in a smallish clubs, you tend to do a lot of stuff. And I was captain of a team for a number of years, which I enjoyed very much. I don't know if my teammates did, but I enjoyed it very much. And that was, that was good fun. You're not exactly, you don't have the whole armory of things available to you as professional captains do. But it's still one of the most enjoyable things I've ever had on cricket fields, or when you make a plan in conjunction with a bowler and fielders and whatever, and it comes off. That's just great. That's great when it happens. There was a test match a couple of years ago. The last time I went abroad, actually, was England in Cape Town, just 2 years ago. Well, about today, actually. And England was struggling on the last afternoon to bowl out South Africa. I think Van der Dussen had batted for many, many hours. And then just suddenly they put in for one ball a leg slip. They put in Jimmy Anderson at leg slip. And the first ball that he was put there, it was turned straight into his hands. And he caught it. And those are the kind of things which a captain will remember for the rest of his life. And, they're great.
Yes.
And you only get that really in real cricket as opposed to...
well, I mean, the truth is in most club cricket, you do that and you drop it anyhow.
Yeah, but that's why that's all the more reason why you remember it when it comes out well, because it's great fun. And on the other hand, I remember coming into bat once, and the guy bowled a couple of balls at me outside the off stump, and I just sort of pushed them to point. And I was a very leg-sided player, and the opposing captain announced, okay, he can only play on the offside, and he then went and moved sort of all of his fielders onto the offside, and the guy bowls a short ball, straight ball, which I pulled over square leg for 6. It was literally the next ball, and I just sort of looked at him. I could see his teammates sort of sticking their head in their hands and going, "Oh God, he's gone off on one again." So it's nice to be on the other side of those as well. When the best played plans go completely wrong.
So there's a word you've used several times, which I really love. You've just said fun. And to me, that's at the heart of everything to do with cricket.
Why would you do anything if you weren't enjoying it? I mean, unless you had to.
I sometimes wonder. Did you find the social side of it fun as well?
Yeah, very much so. When I was in probably my early 20s, with a group of friends, we formed our own club rather than sort of join a club and try and all get in the same team. And for about, 6 or 7 years. And it was great. And it was really great. We had a very good time. We were probably a bit young and a bit cocky. We weren't all that good, but we were playing mostly friendly cricket, a few the odd cup games and the like. And it was terrific. It was, great memories, and it was hugely enjoyable. Again, why do it if it's not?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the beauties of cricket that's come through to me as I've talked to people more and more is how lack of massive expertise is no impediment to actually really enjoying it.
Right. Well, it would be nice to have a little bit more expertise sometimes. It's not fun necessarily. If you find yourself out of your depth, whether you're batting or you're bowling, or even in the field, when people are hitting the ball at you much harder than you're used to. It's no fun in any sport. You can be in a football team when you're getting absolutely tonked and people are waltzing around you. It's not much fun. But, on the whole, I always say, the club I'm involved in, the best games we have are close games.
Yes.
Even if we've come out on the wrong side of them, I'd rather lose a game by 5 runs than win it by 150.
Absolutely.
Because that's what sport's all about.
Well, that's one of the things that's really come through. I mean, none of the gorillas to whom I've spoken so far have mentioned winning as being at the top of the things they're aiming for. It's always about enjoying what they're doing. And
it is more enjoyable when you win a close game.
Yeah.
I mean, different people think differently about that. So there are some very competitive people in sport and in life. And I don't think, well, I wouldn't say I'm completely averse to that, because I do have some strong opinions on people playing for themselves rather than playing for the team. But you have to always remember it's a team game, and you have to do what's best for everybody, for the team as a whole rather than yourself. But it should be fun, and you're right. Lack of expertise is not necessarily a problem for enjoying the game.
So when did you first actually go to watch some high standard cricket, county or test?
I've probably been about 10 or 11, I would have thought. I didn't live too far away from Lord, bus ride away from Lords, bus ride away from the Oval. We would, on Sundays, they used to play Sunday afternoon 40 over games, John Player League games. And we used to go quite regularly. I'd go with friends. And we, it'd be a good day out. We'd try and get autographs before or after the game.
80 overs fitted into 4 hours, as I recall.
A little bit more than that, perhaps. But it wasn't quite IPL length of games. We didn't have that many ad breaks. And during the summer holidays, there was a lot of cricket on, and it was a way to spend a good way to spend a day. You take your sandwich and a bottle of drink, and you pay not very much on the door to get in. and that would be a day's entertainment.
And you are, if you'll excuse the expression, what I think might be described as the Middlesex tragic. Is that fair?
Yeah, I've always followed Middlesex. They were very successful. I think they won the championship probably 2 or 3 times when I was in my formative years of watching sport. So, and they were, the closest team. But I was a member of Surrey as well. I mean, in the 80s and the 90s, they used to alternate home games. Middlesex and Surrey wouldn't play at home on the same week if possible. So you could go and watch Middlesex in the championship at one point. And then when they were away, then you can go watch Surrey. I was a member of Surrey as well. So, and we used to travel a little bit to watch games. I've watched a lot of games around the home counties, and probably not too far away, maybe sort of Northampton and Bournemouth and places like that, Colchester. But so we would travel as well.
Yeah.
Once I started driving.
What's your most memorable match you watched?
That's a good question. Especially since the memory's failing. There was a county championship game where Middlesex beat Derbyshire by 1 run, which was hugely entertaining on the last afternoon because Derbyshire, Mohammed Azharuddin was playing for them, and he had a brilliant 100, and they were getting closer and losing wickets. And John Morris, who was a good batsman for Derbyshire, played a few times for England, better known for having gone up in a plane with David Gower, and then been censured for that. He'd been sent to hospital in the morning with suspected meningitis, and he wasn't expected to. He wasn't supposed to be at the ground, or certainly expected to bat. And then the 9th wicket fell, with them a few runs short, and out he strode to bat, much to everybody's surprise. Lifted a ball in the air to deep mid wicket, and I think Mark Ramprakash took a catch over his head. It would have been the match-winning 6, and so that was probably as good a finish as I can remember.
Indeed,
I was at the World Cup final of 2019, so I suppose that's fairly memorable as well.
That was fairly memorable. And the Test match.
Test match, 1984. England West Indies at Lords. England declared half an hour into the last day, setting them about 340 to win. And Greenwich hit a brilliant double 100, and they won it by 9 wickets. And the only England wicket I think they took was a run out. So, declaring on the last day and losing doesn't happen all that often in Test matches.
Indeed,
I was sitting dead square of the wicket, and Greenwich was a fearsome cutter of the ball. And those days you could jump over the fence and field the ball and throw it back as well. And I think we did that a few times.
Indeed. So when did you first come into connection with the sofa or the guerrilla cricket, whichever?
Can't remember the year, but I sort of had some mutual acquaintances with some of the people who were on Test Match Sofa. And I'd been told, give it a listen, you'll enjoy it. And then eventually I usually balk at those kind of things. I'll watch this TV show, you'll love it. But I finally did dig it out, and I remember listening to it for the first time and thinking, this is dreadful. And it was absolutely dreadful. I mean, it wasn't their finest moment. I don't remember who was on it. I probably didn't even know who was on it at the time. Wouldn't have recognized their voices, but it was scatological, and it was just unpleasant. And I had no interest in digging it out again. Then a few months later, I was pushed, and I said, "All right, listen to it," and then I got it pretty quickly. As I say, I sort of knew some people. I had some friends in common with Dan Norcross and Manny and Cato and some people who were involved at early doors. And I got to meeting some of these people, at cricket mostly. So it sort of drifted in that way. I was never on Test Match Sofa as a contributor, although I was a couple of times I was there when they were recording or broadcasting.
Yeah.
And I was actually quite vocal. I mean, you remember the time when they went corporate and they were taken over by the Cricketer.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And if you probably dig back my tweets about that time. What was it, about 2012, 2013, saying, look, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
You're getting in professionals to summarise, and that's exactly what what Test match sofa shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But they wanted to earn a few quid, and I think Norcross did. I don't know if anyone else did, but so it was fair enough. And then when that imploded and Guerrilla Cricket started, and I just sort of turned up on pretty much on day one when they were looking for people, and they haven't managed to get rid of me since.
Well, I'm assuming from what you said earlier that you do it because you enjoy it.
Well, I don't do it for the money. That's
for sure.
None of us do. Well, most of us don't. But it's yes, I'll do it when I enjoy it, which is why most of the time, I don't enjoy watching limited overs cricket. So mostly I won't be on when that's on. But when they're short, I will make myself available if necessary.
So, what is your favourite jingle?
Mushrafe Murtaza, I would say.
So you and Knackle have something in common.
We have lots of things in common.
He came up with that as well.
Yeah, I think that was the apogee. Is that the right word, of Sherwood's craft?
I think so. Yes.
It was the classic Test match sofa stroke Guerrilla Cricket jingle, in that it was it uses profanity as a lot, for a punchline, which is great, which is basically what it ought to be.
Yeah. And your favourite cricketers?
My favourite cricketers. Well, I would imagine most people would say that they're the people who they watched when they were growing up. Perhaps in their teenage years. I know yourself. Anyone mentions Sussex players of the mid-late 60s, and you'll be in like Flint with your autograph book and your pictures. But I really enjoyed watching Phil Edmonds play. Not least because aesthetically, I mean, he had the most beautiful bowling action that you could hope to see, and he was a nutter, obviously. He didn't get on with anyone. He was very difficult. He was, if you read books of that era, by his captains and his teammates, he was obviously a very difficult bloke, but he was a very gifted bloke. He wasn't a hugely successful Test cricketer, but he had a good career, and he had a fantastic career in first class cricket. And I would say I enjoyed him. Not his wife, who wrote some books on the back of it, and she was not my cup of tea at all.
Yeah, the beauty of bowling actions is sometimes overlooked. I mean, I was lucky being in Perth when Dennis Lilly was at his prime, and just watching him bowl it's poetry in motion. It really is. Yeah,
no, I don't like ballet, but I imagine people who do like it, that's what they're enjoying. It's the movement, and it's the liquid. What's the word I'm looking for? You wouldn't tell I'm a broadcaster occasionally, would you? But it was just the fluid motion and the and everything coming together at the right time. It's it's.
I mean, I'm equally lucky to have Damien Martin playing here as well, and he's got that grace, I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, David Gower was obviously tremendous to watch. Later on, people like the famous, beautiful players to watch, like Ian Bell or James Vince. There was something just about watching a cover drive when it's four as soon as it's left the bat, and the batsman holds the pose after it. It's just a wonderful thing to see.
Yep. And dare I ask your least favourite cricketers?
Well, they tend to be the ones who are sort of ego-driven. You think of the people like Kevin Peterson.
The cricketers turned into really bad commentators type people.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, somebody like Adam Hollyoake or Dermot Reeve, I'm finding sort of reasonably obscure people, but who gave the impression, or Dominic Cork, that that it was about them, and it's not a team game. It's about them, and that's not an attractive trait.
No, and I guess KP epitomised that.
Yeah, and he was a wonderful player. I mean, Warren was a wonderful player.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to necessarily spend an evening with them, would you? With any of these people, would you?
Absolutely not.
You'd be making excuses and leaving after about 5 minutes.
Yeah. Although a lot of people seem to be forced to be in the company of some of these people by listening to their commentaries. So in some ways, they do us a favour by driving people towards guerrilla cricket, I think.
You do have a choice.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I just want to say thank you very much for giving us your time, Fred. But more importantly, thank you very much for all that you've put into guerrilla cricket to help make it what it is. Because
I've certainly put in more than I've taken out. That's it's been good. I've made a lot of good friends that I've met through guerrilla cricket. Hendo and the Bay. Remember Hendo? He used to be involved with guerrilla cricket. And
I'll be speaking to him later tonight, doing exactly.
Oh, he's still alive. That's good to know. And Grubby and Roger McCann and Gary Naylor. I mean, there's so many of them, and we're people I'm friendly with. Outside of guerrilla cricket, and we'll go to watch a film with, or other such things, unrelated to cricket, or just spend time. And I think when you came to England, was it in 2019?
Yes.
I think you probably, perhaps for the first time, appreciated that when we were broadcasting from a studio, the most entertaining part was sitting in the green room.
Absolutely.
And I always said that if you wanted to make a lot of money out of this, we just needed to have a Patreon-only content with a mic in the green room. It was just
we would have
time with friends.
Some good legal support if we did that, of course.
We would have to have a 10-second, bleepometer. But that's what it is. It's meeting up with friends, and that's necessarily been lost in the Zoom era. There's nothing anyone can do about that. We're lucky to have it as good as we have had, but that's really sorely missed. Just getting together, and then at the end of the day, going to the pub and watching people slowly get drunk, and enjoying the company. That's
absolutely. I've got to say that's part of why I have enjoyed doing these interviews so much. Just catching up with people in a way that's not around what's going on the field, but just around the personality and the connection that's involved. So I really appreciate that.
Which is why occasionally when guerrilla cricket and Test match over have commentated on stuff which wasn't cricket, which wasn't even sport sometimes, it was because you had a bunch of people in a room who were enjoying each other's company and enjoying just shooting the breeze. And I think, if you can make each other laugh, then you're going to make the listeners laugh, and that's what it's all about. It's entertainment.
I think that's an absolutely perfect way of looking at it. If I'm enjoying it, hopefully they will be too. So thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure. And good luck with the rest of it.
Thank you.